All right, we are on the back side. We are now going to solve linear or system of equations by substitution. And so if you remember from our lessons, by substitution, you have to get a variable by itself. So if you look at the first equation, you have x plus y equals 7. Then you look at the second one, 3x plus y equals 13. The easiest one to get a variable by itself is the very top one. We're used to getting y by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and get y by itself. So I have x plus y equals 7. To get y by itself, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. X minus x simplifies to be 0. And then I'm left with y equals 7 minus x. I can change that minus to add the opposite. Once I know what y equals, if you look on this equation, I can take that whole quantity and substitute it in for y. So I'm going to take the second equation and rewrite it. I have 3x plus, now instead of y, I'm going to use 7 plus a negative x. So I'm going to replace y with 7 plus negative x equals 13. Then I'm just going to use what I know about solving equations. I'm going to first combine my like terms. I have 3x plus a negative x gives me 2x plus 7 equals 13. Then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. They simplify to be 0. 2x plus 0 is just 2x equals, well, 13 minus 7 is going to give me 6. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2. X equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. Once I know what x equals, I can go back to my original equations, choose one of them. I'm going to choose the simplest one, x plus y equals 7. I now know what x equals, 3. So 3 plus y equals 7. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 plus y is y equals 7 minus 3 is 4. So I have my solution. My solution 3, 4. But I want to check to make sure I did it correctly. And so when I'm doing my check, I'm going to take the first equation, x plus y equals 7, substitute in 3 for x and y, 4 for y. 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 does equal 7. So I know it works for the first equation, but then I have to check to make sure it works for the second equation. I have 3x plus y equals 13. I'm going to substitute in 3 for x and then 4 for y. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. 13 does equal 13. I got that correctly. So what I'm looking for in this problem is that you got the first equation into the form y equals 7 plus a negative x. Then you substituted correctly. You solved correctly. Right? And then I'm looking that you got the, when you got your x, you substituted in correctly. You solved correctly to get your y. I'm looking that you did your solution correctly, or you wrote it out correctly, and then I'm looking that you checked both equations. So this problem was worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. So a total of 7 points. Okay, let's go on to the next one, number 6. Number 6, once again, my goal is to have a variable by itself. If you notice, y is already by itself. And so all I have to do is take what y equals and substitute it in for this y. So I'm going to go 2 times x, rewrite the second equation, plus, but instead of this y, instead of this y, I'm going to replace it with this quantity. Negative 2x minus 3 equals 9. I'm going to change the minus to add the opposite. Okay? And then I'm going to simplify. 2x plus a negative 2x is 0. Many of you wrote just x. It is 0. I have opposite terms, so they're going to equal 0. 0 plus a negative 3 is negative 3. And I know negative 3 does not equal 9, so therefore there is no solution. Okay, no solution. So here I was looking that you did your substitution correctly. I was looking that you simplified correctly, and that you told me negative 3 does not equal 9, and you wrote out no solution. So this was worth a total of 4 points. Okay. All right, let's go down to solving by inspection. By inspection, remember, you're just looking at the equations. But what are you looking at? You're looking at your slopes and your y-intercept. So that means I need to get both equations in the form y equals mx plus b. So if I take the first equation, 4x minus y equals 8, I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. They've simplified to be 0. I have a negative y equals 8 minus 4x. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 because I have a negative 1 in front of this y. When you have a variable by itself, it has a coefficient of 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Before I do that, I'm going to change this to add the opposite. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 is y equals 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8 plus negative 4 divided by negative 1 is 4x. So I can tell from here my slope is 4. My y-intercept is negative 8. Okay? Then I'm going to take the second equation. 12x plus 3y equals 2. Once again, I want to get y by itself. So I'm going to start by getting rid of the 12x by subtracting it from both sides. 12x minus 12x simplifies to be 0. Then I have 3y equals 2 minus 12x. Let's change that minus to add the opposite. And so I'm going to divide to get y by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 simplifies to be 1. 1 times y is y equals 2 divided by 3. I'm just going to leave it as 2/3 plus I have a negative 12 divided by 3 is going to give me negative 4x. So my slope is equal to 2/3. My y-intercept, my slope is a negative 4. My y-intercept is 2/3. So if you look and you compare your slopes, that's where I always start with. I see that my slope here is a positive 4, but here it's a negative 4. Well, they're not the same, and so I only have one solution because the slopes are different. Okay? One solution because the slopes are different. And so once again, you're not finding the solution, you're just telling me how many solutions are there? One solution, no solution, or infinitely many solutions. So for this one, it's just one solution because the slopes are different. Okay? Let's look at the second one. We have the bottom one, it's already in the form y equals mx plus b. So I'm just going to identify the slope is equal to 1 since I have a coefficient of 1 in front of that x. If I change this to add the opposite, I know that my y-intercept is equal to -3. So all I have to do now is take the top equation, 2x plus y equals 3, get y by itself. In order to do that, I have to subtract 2x from both sides. 2x minus 2x simplifies to be 0. 0 plus y is y equals 3 minus 2x. I'm going to change that minus to add the opposite. Okay, so that tells me that my slope is equal to -2. My y-intercept is equal to 3. So if I compare, starting with my slopes, I have a slope of 1 and a slope of -2. They're different, so I don't need to go any further. They're different. Different slopes mean I have one solution okay, because the slopes are different. So for these two problems, I was looking for number 7, that you rewrote the first equation in the form y equals mx plus b. You identified the slope and the y-intercept somehow. You don't have to write it out. Maybe you wrote it out in your explanation. And then I was looking that you, for the second one, that you have it in the form y equals mx plus b. You identified the slope and the y-intercept correctly. And then you said that this was one solution. So this was worth 7 points. Then I was looking on this side too. Did you turn the second one into the form y equals mx plus b? Identified slope and y-intercept. The first one is already in the form y equals mx plus b. So did you identify the slope and y-intercept? If you did all that and you wrote that it was one solution, okay, then you get all 6 points. So this one was worth 6 points. Okay, this video will be posted on my website, so you can always check it and check back with it if you have any questions. You can also email me.